So what makes a lithium-ion battery so different? This is the Genius Star 11 up in Dutch Harbor. This was an energy storage system, a ship with energy storage systems going across Dutch Harbor. Ended up hitting bad seas. It was actually supposed to port in San Francisco. They stopped at Dutch Harbor. They worked with the ATF, with the ESA, with Captain Chris Green to identify solutions. They almost lost the vessel. They ran out of all their CO2 extinguishing medium en route, and they had to restock in Dutch Harbor. They stayed there for many weeks. This is back in January this year. And now they ended up going down to San Diego where they're getting remediation and trying to get the proper disposal of all this. Ships are having a huge issue with this. They lost they thought it was $3 billion of revenue for a ship that went from Europe to the United States. Because of a Volkswagen Touareg that ended up catching on fire in a ship, and a bunch of Bugattis, supercars, and everything else sunk to the bottom of the ocean. The maritime industry is paying attention to this. The FAA is paying attention to this. We're all trying to pay attention to this. The temperatures are higher. These things burn much hotter than a traditional structure fire. The fires are difficult to safeguard. I showed you that, I talked to you about that venting. That last video, it's an X-ray, so you didn't see the fire or the venting. You just saw the release of everything, right? But the gases came on out. They may or may not have ignited, but if they do ignite, that's going to be a torching fire. They burn without oxygen. My anode, my cathode material, the electrolytes, the doping solutions, we have oxygen within the battery itself. So I can't just smother it and keep oxygen away from the fire goes out. It already has its own oxygen. It has an explosive flame front. You saw that right there with that battery that just failed. It will every single cell will continue to have that explosive flame front as they continue to go through thermal runaway, right? This came courtesy of Todd Smith. Actually, he stole it off of Twitter. I'm sorry, X. It took it off of X. This is over in Vietnam, I think, over in Asia. Knowing the toxicity of this is crazy, but I want you guys to take a look at the fire. If I look at the temperature of a fire, for those that are not well attuned, if I see a dark red, deep red fire, I'm looking at 1,000, 1,100 degrees. That's a cold fire. If I get to an orange structure fire, campfires, butane lighters, it's an orange flame. 1,400 degrees, 1,500 degrees, 1,600 degrees, reaching flashover temperatures, right? It's not about the heat, it's about the temperature. When I get the bright white flames, I'm getting up to 1,900, 2,000 degrees, 2,100 degrees. I start seeing licks of blue. I'm seeing 22, 23, 2,400 degrees. You notice that last little woof of fire right there? That looked like a gas fire, didn't it? That looked like a natural gas fire, a propane fire. The product coming out of these batteries is a gas. So firefighters thinking about foam, think again. Do you put foam on propane and natural gas fires? No, the vapor pressure is way too high. You cannot put a gas fire out with foam. You can't put a gas fire out with foam. And on top of that, where is the cell that's having the issue? It comes on down to it. Where is the cell that's having the issue? Here's individual cells right there. It's from my department. We don't need to go too much into it, but this was at a trash facility. I want you to understand from a great analogy I heard was from Lieutenant John Cassidy of FDNY Hazmat 1. He ended up talking about how these batteries work. The cells are inside the battery pack. So let's put this in firefighter ease for you guys. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta break it down for the firefighters. I gotta make it simple for them, right? Lieutenant Cassidy, I'm just stealing it from him. So the kids have a little pizza party the night before. They end up getting their Domino's or Little Caesars or Pizza Hut, I don't care, whatever pizza you want to choose. They get like 6 or 7 pizzas. They power down all their little pepperoni and anchovy pizza. No kids eat anchovy pizzas, whatever. They eat their cheese pizza, and there's still leftovers. But kids being kids, they throw the pizza in the pizza box in the oven and close the oven up because there was no space in the fridge. That's going to be breakfast tomorrow, right? Breakfast of champions. And then they forget about it because they're going off to Knott's Berry Farm or Six Flags or whatever. Then mom comes on in, gets ready to bake a casserole the next evening, doesn't check the oven, just turns it on preheat. Now the pizza box catches on fire. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. 911, what's your emergency? I got a kitchen fire. Ma'am, alarm goes. We end up running on out. We get our backed up. We get suited up. We roll on down there. We get there in breakneck time. We yank off that 1 3/4 hose. We get out there. We pull that 1 3/4, pull it 150 gallons per minute. You roll up into the kitchen, deep baked smoke coming on down, and you crack that 1 3/4 onto that freaking oven, and you spray all day long. Is that fire going to go out? No. What do you need to do? Open the oven. Take the pizza box out. Call it good. You have to open the oven. And that's where we're having issues right now. It's a cell that's on fire inside a battery. The battery is the oven. Now the question comes on down to is, do you want to open the oven? Is it worth opening the oven? What do we tell people when they have a fire in their oven? Open the door? Keep it closed, right? So it's important for us to identify that, guys. So appropriate extinguishment is critical. The big thing when it comes on down to these guys is that microscopic separation between the anode and the cathode, short circuit. It can fester at a tiny little microscopic level if we just have a tiny little pinprick failure. And that'll overheat and it'll start melting and it'll start festering. It'll overheat and overheat, and then we finally have that liquid turn to a vapor, and then it finally goes off. It could be a few hours after an impact. It could be a few days. I've heard reports of 3 days, 6 days, 8 days. Common term that we use is 21 days. I've heard stories across the country of batteries reigniting 36 days after a flame impingement or an impact or water infiltration. There's a guy over there that told me that batteries reignited 45 days after flame impingement, impact, or water penetration. There's some anecdotal reports out there that 56 days after any impact, water infiltration, or fire exposure, these batteries have gone into thermal runaway. And at 76 days, there was an event that a battery ended up going into thermal runaway after being impacted by Hurricane, not Irma, but Hurricane Ian. 76 days. You don't know. You never know. A thermal imaging camera can't look through the oven. A thermal imaging camera, even if you saw the cell, can't see the interior linings of that permeable, of that separator. And that separator could just be warming and festering right now as we speak. We have no idea. We have to plan for the worst case scenario. We don't sit there and assume, hey, I'm going to open up my ERG right now. I'm going to go to page 367. I'm going to look at the BLEVE chart. Oh, man, it says a BLEVE could potentially happen in 9 minutes. We should isolate and deny it. You know what? A lot of the times this doesn't BLEVE, guys. Let's go in and do offensive. You do that, Chief? Yeah, you know what? I don't trust this BLEVE chart right now. I don't trust the BLEVE considerations. Let's just go in and fight that tank fire. No. Now, of course, we don't do that because it's 500 gallons, 1,000 gallons, 40,000 gallons. This is 9 liters of gas. Very different, right? But still, it has the issue. So we have to protect as such, as it will, as if. 21 days has been the most common standard that we've set out there. It's not the only standard, but I've heard up to 76 days. They are everywhere. Imagine your house. Think about your house. Think about right now what you have. Anybody bring lithium batteries with them today? Anybody bring their cell phone today? Your smartwatch? Any of your medical aids? Like I got hearing aids. Not on right now. I want to look good for the camera. But now you guys know that I have hearing aids, so that's all right. I got beyond my toys I brought, I got like 15 lithium-ion batteries in my laptop, my tablet. I got batteries everywhere. You have batteries everywhere. They're everywhere. When you order something on Amazon, I think you get free lithium-ion batteries just with any purchase. Older, saltier dogs in the house, I'm betting you remember when you bought something from Kmart and it said batteries not included. When's the last time they made a movie off of it? When's the last time that we've seen a package that said batteries not included? No, the battery's integrated. Try to take a battery out of your cell phone, seriously. We don't understand this. We're learning it. We're doing research on it. So guys, proper extinguishment is correct. Identification, understanding. Early identification is key. You can continue to fight and try to work and try to identify how to fight the fire. We've always known you put the wet stuff on the red stuff. But the important thing is making sure it's not just gallons per minute, but it's gallons per second, right? Proper application, identifying and getting to the seat of the fire is critical. If it's not working, analyze, plan, implement, evaluate. Readjust your hose streams as we go through this. Maybe you may need to call for a backup line and get some support. Sometimes it'll work. With lithium-ion batteries, guys, it will not work. These things will continue to burn on their own. And I have bad news for you. They lost the scooter, guys. They lost the scooter.